How's it going, everybody? My name's Dion Morales. I'm your host of the Gold Squadron podcast.
All right, let's go through the hellos. Hello, I'm Luke. I am the host of the Gold Squadron Paint Cast. Where are your happy clouds and brushes? Happy clouds, brushes. Well, tonight we're going to be doing a lot of airbrush work. We'll talk about how you would do it with a brush, but because we want to keep this as clean as possible, we're going to be doing a lot of airbrush work tonight. We're going to be doing a lot of talking about basic paint strategies. As you guys want to talk about points changes and everything, we're going to be talking about points updates. Pretty excited. Let's get a little bit of music going and we can just start this off. Alright. Oh yeah, some good. Oh no, I'm running and getting my painting stuff. Alright. Alright, let's get through this Twitch chat here. Let's welcome in everybody. Hey, NJ378, welcome in. Hoosier 40K, hello. Steven Downs, looked like it's working. Yep. Got my two YV666s ready with the new gunner slot. Oh yeah. Welcome in. Walla Mighty, Big I am legendary, Mega Silver, Twitch 5x5, Resufer Resist. What is that? Refuse Resist 2415. Welcome in, Sir George. How you doing tonight? Good to see all you guys. Are we even we need to do some important things here. I need to change stream title, all this kind of stuff. Give me just a minute. We gotta gotta even change our category. I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure how we can do that here. We'll get this done. Sorry guys, I'm horrible. I forgot to set our title, change us into art because we're not playing board games. We're doing the arts. Tonight we are going to be painting up this new YV666 in turn as a happy change to our paint cast number 1 YV666 change. Kayla Liu just subscribed. Welcome. Thanks for subscribing. That is, I don't know. That's a subscription. I don't care what kind of subscription it is. That's awesome. Thanks. YV666 base coating and prep. Right, update all. And then on Twitch, we're gonna edit this. We're gonna be doing the game is the art. Update. Alright. Now we're here. Alright, we're in the art, we're in the right category now. Let's get going here. This is a YV666. I've already primed it in black previously. So, remember that when you're priming stuff, there's two ways to prime. You can either prime with a rattle can, or you can prime with an airbrush. I'm going to go over kind of how we're priming with an airbrush tonight. Even though we've primed with black, I want to do what's called a Zenithal highlight. Yep, we're just jumping in with the big words. Zenithal comes from the word zenith, which means above, right? Top, over, something like that. I don't know, it's Greek. And so what we want to do is we want to make, this whole night we're going to be thinking about light. How light travels, how light hits ships, and then we're going to be painting in order to achieve as good of light as we can. So the first thing is that this thing is black, and even though it's well coated, so it's going to be able to accept our paint really well, we want to make sure that we can start to see some of these details. So I'm going to take some of this surface primer gray, and I'm going to hit all the way over the top. Okay. If you're using a surface primer or any kind of airbrush primer in your airbrush, you don't need to thin it. So just toss it in your airbrush. Keep your airbrush at like 40 psi, and and with that, just kind of hit the whole top of it. If you have any sort of breathing problems or you're worried about it, make sure that you wear the appropriate PPE. Nice little respirator right here. Okay, I got one. You know what? For this, I'll put it on just for you guys, because this will be the longest amount of time that we're using the airbrush tonight, just priming the top of this. I'm going to be list building while listening in. Yeah, 3 robots fit in a list, FYI. Cool, cool. I'm excited. Let me hit the YouTubes. Hey, Danny Payne. How you doing? How you doing, Danny Payne? Good to see you. Hey, Phil Sable. How you doing? Good to see you switch over. Okay, so gonna be priming this. Gonna keep it about 40 psi. And all we're gonna do is we're just gonna make sure we take the spray. Okay. Make sure you're seeing stuff. Okay. And then you just want to just hit it just from the top. It's okay. Don't Now we're going to wind up painting over most of this anyway. We're going to probably paint a lot of this black again. But it's good for us to see where all the details are so we can plan out what our paint is going to look like. Okay. The stronger you paint this gray, this Zenith highlight on, the better, the stronger your paint is going to show through later. So, painting it bright now is going to make it easier on you later if you want really bright spots, which we're definitely going to want. And you'll see what I'm doing here in just a little bit. Okay. Alright. Do it. Breathe like Vader. Okay. Is that good, I Am Legendary? I tried my best for you. I got too much shit. Alright, I'm going to take out these headphones. I don't need to listen to music. I can just hang out with you guys. We're in the middle of doing important things here. Okay, I'm just going to finish this off. Alright. Okay, so you can see here, I got everything on the bottom is black. And as we kind of move up, we get brighter and brighter and brighter. If we're assuming that light is coming down from the top here, these things are brighter than these things. Okay? I know it's crazy. We're crazy monochrome right now. We're really bright. It's okay. We're going to make it. If you have extra primer in your paint cup, if you have a bunch, just open up the top of this and then pour it back in. But since I don't have very much, I'm just going to spray this directly in here. I'm going to speed it up by mixing in some airbrush thinner. Always make sure that you clean your that you keep your airbrush clean. It's a very, very important thing. If you don't keep your airbrush clean, or you have things that are going wrong with it, you're going to spend a lot more time trying to fix a problem than you can with just your standard maintenance. So once you get all the paint out, take a little bit of this airbrush cleaner. Right? You can find this on Amazon. Just look up Medea airbrush cleaner. It's like it's like $9 for as much as I use in like 4 or 5 months, and I promise that I paint a lot more than you do. Luke, will you be willing to talk through some basic airbrush cleaning and what mixes of water, thinner, paint, flow improver you're using. Just starting in any help is great. Yeah, once we hit our first color, we'll walk through literally everything. For now though, just know, when you're using your airbrush cleaner, you should just take some airbrush cleaner, use a brush, Q-tip works really well, stick that in there, have a little brush, get this brush, get an old brush that you're not really using anymore, kind of whack that tip a little bit, clean that tip off. Gotta have a clean tip. What about object source lighting caused by engine glow? We are going to get to engine glow. That is going to be not this show, maybe next show, for sure, like maybe Monday. I'm not sure how long this paint is going to take. We're going to kind of take our time with everything, and but yes, we will definitely be getting to engine glow. Ever get gunked up with some cotton coming off the Q-tip? You know, I haven't. I kind of use these things all the time, right? I just take a Q-tip. All I do is I just go bloop, 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 and it goes away. Usually the cotton stays on and it pulls all the paint off and not the other way around. Or at least that's been my experience so far. Okay, let's see. Hold on. Gotta go to the YouTube to see what's going on. Did the new changes come out today? Yeah, they did, Jay. What design will we be doing for the YV? Alright, so I think we need to do some Gold Squadron-y things to this. So my thought right now, and remember, the points changes just came out today, so I just changed all of this just today. So my thought right now is we make this up here, this cockpit area, we make that a nice gold, right? We do a nice dark transition it up to gold, okay? Then we do down here, we do this kind of footprint here. We do this gold, and we do that gold underneath too, and then we run that up the side here, and we make this gold, okay? If we make this black, or like, if we make this black like the Gold Squadron thing, and we make this black like the Gold Squadron thing, this silver, we can put a little Skippy design right here, and have Skippy go here, right? Force Go Skippy, you remember the last Gold Squadron episode, right? Since this is going to be majority black, this is going to be majority black, gold, gold, we probably want to do black coming off the back here. That's going to help us with our engine glow. I think maybe this might be, I'm not sure. We'll have to kind of see whether or not gold is going to be way too much here or not, but this will be silver because it's a bunch of parts and stuff, and so we'll make that kind of a gray silvery color. I'm not sure. And then so this is either going to be gold or black. We can kind of figure this out. Skippy, yeah. It's going to be hard for you to keep this PG since you are used to OCX. No, I'm an adult. I can handle myself. I'm a professional. I'm a professional. Don't try this at home. Okay. So, I'm going to be going into, so over the course of this podcast, or over the course of this Twitch thing, I'm going to be doing a lot of different techniques, alright? I'm going to be doing techniques that are useful for you painters out there. We'll be doing like this paint cast. I think there's no reason we shouldn't be at least attempting some non-metallic metal stuff with the gold. Gold is pretty straightforward if you haven't done non-metallic metal before. For beginning painters, if you're super uncomfortable with what's going on, just watch, kind of take it in. Try it if you want to. You should definitely try things that are new. If you're super like, nope, not even going to touch that, it's really okay. I'll talk about kind of alternates that you can use while we're painting stuff. So when I'm thinking about design here, I'm thinking the reason why I think gold here, black here is because they're going to be nice and contrasting. We're going to be able to see just a ton of stuff here. The reason why I'm scared about doing gold back here is because we always look at ships from the top down, right, when we're playing, and so I'm worried that gold is going to be just like too in your face, and so I'm wondering if this black stuff needs to be black right here. It's pretty easy. We'll be able to get to that pretty quickly when we're ready. I'm here to make some mistakes. Oh yeah, yeah. The best way to become a better painter is to paint more. So when I talk about so there's two ways that we could go about doing this gold. We can either, one, use a metallic paint. Okay, so when you go to a hobby store and you buy some metallic paint, what you're buying is this is a rust colored paint, right? You're buying a paint that is brown like rust with a whole bunch of mica flakes in it. Okay, so mica is a really reflective rock, and it gives the paint its shiny metallic-y color. When you're doing paint that is non-metallic, right, you want it to give it a metallic look, you're using just regular paints that then work their way up to a higher standard, or work their way up to a higher tone, right? So, when you have both of these together, if you're brand new and you're really worried and you're not using an airbrush, on a ship this big, an airbrush I really strongly recommend for non-metallics. If you're using metallics, or you're just using a brush, consider using metallics. If you want to give it a go and you want to really practice your blending, go for the non-metallic stuff. All right, trying to give options to all of the people who are working here. So if you're using metallics and you're using an airbrush or a regular brush, you want to make sure that you thin your paints as little as possible. All right, because there's these mica flakes in there, there's only so many. So the more you thin your paint, the more you're spreading out these mica flakes throughout your whole entire paint scheme. So you're going to have to do, so thinning out your paint a bunch can be problematic. However, you still want to thin out your paints. So let's just talk about like the basics of paint thinning. All right. So you want your paints. Careful which brush material you use with metallics. Yeah, I always try to. I typically use the same brushes, but you definitely want to make sure you wash out your brushes fully when you use metallic paints. You know what? We're gonna hold for 2 seconds. I'm gonna give you something interesting to look at, and I'm gonna go grab my wet palette really quick because we need to talk about how to make a wet palette. I forgot. We're new. Okay, I'm back. Everybody leave? All you guys left me, right? Okay, so a wet palette. What's a wet palette? So when everybody first starts painting, they're like, all right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this paint, slop it on this thing, right? Or they bought the GW paints and they flip open the cap and they're like, all right, I'm ready to go, ready to paint. Fine, it's totally adequate. You can get good paint here, right? This is nice. This is pretty thin paint. It'll work, right? We could paint things. You know, we could paint a little stick figure here. Okay, so paint works. We're gonna see that it dries out pretty fast though. So you just kind of we'll just keep an eye on that for a minute. When you become, as you progress in painting, and something that you probably want to do right from the start if you're new, is make yourself a wet palette. What I have here is a Tupperware. Okay, this is just a old Tupperware that I had lying around. Oh, I have way too much water in here. That's fine. I have inside the Tupperware, I have wet paper towels. Okay, 2 things that you should already have in your house. And if you are either living at home or married, you probably have some parchment paper lying around. Either you're a baker, right, and you know what parchment paper is, or your wife might bake and she might have some parchment paper lying around that she uses to make cookies. Okay? Now, you want to make this when you're painting. Why is that? The parchment paper itself is wet and permeable. Okay, when you have wet paper towels, it's wet and permeable. What that does is it seeps through and it keeps your paint wet for longer. So you can have a wet palette that has that keeps your paint wet, and the paint that you put on here, this won't dry. For me, this won't dry until, like, I don't know, Wednesday, Thursday maybe, if I keep it open. If you have a lid for your Tupperware and you close it off and you put it in the refrigerator, it will stay wet forever. You will never, you will run out of paint on this palette when you use it, and not just wasting time. I've never done any airbrush work. This is so cool. Oh, thanks, man. I'm here to, nice hat. Oh yeah, Colorado. Woohoo, Wyoming. Yeah. Stenciling was awesome, or loser muffins. Let me ask my wife if we have that paper. Right. Okay. Ojo al titilo del YV66 1 solo punto. I don't speak Spanish, so I'm sorry. If someone wants to translate, go for it. Alright. Or loser muffins. Oh, I get it. Haha. Nice. That's funny. Okay. So, if all your paint work that's not done in the airbrush should be done in a wet palette. If you don't have parchment paper, go down to your local supermarket, buy some parchment paper. If you're just using it for this, one $2 roll of parchment paper will literally last you forever. I bought mine 2.5 years ago, and I only use it for this, and I am not even close to running out yet. So do that. It's going to keep your paint wet, and we will definitely be getting into that later. All right. So let's do some quick advanced work talking about non-metallic metals and blending and all that. It's going to be really quick. So for those of you that know what you guys are doing, I'm not going to bore you. For those of you that this is way over your heads, hopefully I won't bore you. Alright, so what we're doing is I'm going to work up from these colors. So I'm going to be using the Vallejo Charred Brown, Desert Yellow, Medium Yellow, and White. Okay, so we're going to go from there, and then obviously we'll work down to black. But we'll do that in a little bit. Boom. Alright, so we'll be working up those colors. No, don't transit! What is transit? I don't know what you mean. Okay, so if you're using metallics, I would recommend just starting off with some sort of gold. I use Vallejo paints because I bought them on Amazon when Amazon had a deal for them, and so I bought them on sale for a deal, and they have a little dropper bottle which makes it nice for the airbrush. Are Vallejo paints better than any other paint? No. Are all paints good at something? Yes. Should you be concerned if all you have are GW paints? Absolutely not. Should you be concerned if all you have are Army Painter paints? Definitely not. I would recommend that you buy miniature paints, right? You can get by with using just like craft store paints, like you would go to like Walmart and buy some craft store paints. If you want to start with those and kind of get a feel for it, great. If you want, but you're going to get better results if you actually use a paint made for miniatures. That's all I got to say about that. I think there's some colors. No, don't translate. PG cast. Oh, okay. I think I understand what he was saying. Okay, so like weird concentration of pigments. Yeah. I mean, so like, you know, typically people say Vallejo does metals pretty good. If you're going to be doing a lot of blending, people say Scale 75 paints are really good. I think Games Workshop Citadel has maybe the best reds that you can buy. So really just, I would say just pick whatever makes you feel comfortable, whatever you can get a good deal on, and then just work with those until you know enough to move on. So that's 2 cents there. Okay, so using an airbrush. Okay, take this. I put a couple drops in here. Okay, this is just straight paint. What I want to do is I want to take one. I basically do like a 3-to-1 paint to airbrush flow improver. All right, airbrush flow improver is a. So I'm just gonna put 1 drop in here. Boop. Airbrush flow improver is a paint retarder. So what that means is you have the paint will not dry on the tip of this needle, and that's important as we're airbrushing. We'll talk about that. But it also thins out the paint just a little bit. We also want to use airbrush thinner. Okay, airbrush thinner kind of thins out the paint just a little more. Also, just do 1 drop of that. So if you do like 3 drops of paint, do 1 drop of thinner, 1 drop of retarder, which is flow improver, and I just take a brush and I just kind of mix it all up. There are other people who do more fancy things, right? If you not to call out any other Twitch streamers that you may or may not want to watch, but there are other Twitch streamers like to put their finger on the needle. So because my needle sticks out, I'm pulling it back. They put their finger there, okay, and then they mix it by having the paint have backflow, back pressure. I'm setting my pressure to about 30-ish psi. That's kind of usually, but on my base coats, I like to use between, I don't know, 25 and 30 psi. Sometimes 35. I don't know. It just kind of, it's all about feel. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paint like this. I'm just going to take the paint. I'm just going to give nice light base coats. Okay. Notice that you can see the paint underneath there. So if you're getting really thick base coats, that means that you're probably giving yourself a little too thick of paint, or you're giving yourself too much paint. So we're just going to base coat this right now. And remember, the key here when you're painting is just to be patient. All right, you're not in a rush. You're not in a hurry. We're not racing. Okay. You just want to make sure you get it nice and thin. Okay. Brushes do matter, though. Yes, absolutely. Definitely spend some time getting a good quality brush, and by good quality brush, I mean a brush that has, good miniature painters will tell you that you should buy a brush that's sable haired, okay, and a brush that has. I'm just gonna start with these wings. With the color with the gold color, because I think the gold color is going to look baller on this. But we'll find out if it's a little too gaudy here as we kind of move forward. Definitely pick up a brush that's sable haired. Sable hair brushes are natural hair brushes. Definitely spend a little bit of money on your detail brush. I will pull out mine in just a second. Give me just a moment and I will set this down. We'll let this dry for a second. And I'm going to put in a little airbrush cleaner, right? Mix in my brush. This is just a crap brush. This is called Airbrush Tower. There's the people who make this brush. I got it for free somewhere. You can use any brush you want for cleaning out your airbrush. And it just happened that I ran out of paint, so happy accident, right? Huh, that was a Bob Ross joke for those of you that are there. Oh, hey, Sink Hogan. You have a black and silver YV666. That's awesome, buddy. Okay, so the brush I use is for my detail, right? Little tiny detail, right? Is the Winsor Newton Series 7 00 brush. I've been using this particular brush for over a year. It's amazing. If you take care of it, it's going to take care of you. Pretty much the only other brush I use is this Slow Fuse Gaming Kolinsky Sable 0 brush. Otherwise, I pretty much use airbrush and, you know, like other random brushes that I need specific stuff for. But these two brushes, if you buy like a semi-big brush with a good tip, and then I do strongly recommend just go on Amazon, just buy this. You're going to be like, oh my god, $12 for one brush? Yeah, it's super worth it. So just go ahead and buy it. I got the reference, does that make me old? Yeah, I mean, yeah, probably. Cultured, right. Okay, so what we're going to do now is, we're going to start working up our colors, alright? So I'm going to take half charred brown and half desert yellow, right? So as you're using an airbrush, this is going to make things, just a little easier. So I'm just going to do 2 drops. And make sure, okay, remember, if you haven't already done this, give that paint a little shake. Every time you use it, just shake it up a little bit. If it's been a long time since you've used it, I would recommend shaking it a little more. Personally, I shook that up yesterday, so I'm just going to do 1 drop of airbrush thinner, 1 drop of flow improver. Okay? And remember, we're just reinforcing these basics here. All right. So if you just get in the habit of doing everything the same way every time, you're never going to be surprised or confused about your results. All your results are going to be the same. Painting, even though it's art, miniature painting is science, right? It's paint by numbers. Once you know how to do something, you're going to know how to do it forever. It's not going to change. Glass or stainless steels inside of the shakers do wonders. Yeah, they do. So if you have bottles like this, if you have Citadel bottles that you're shaking up, if you put a little glass BB inside and you shake it up, it's going to do really well. You can put a steel BB in there. Just make sure that it's stainless steel. If not, there's still water inside your paint, right? The water is going to cause that steel BB to rust, and then you're going to get little rust particles that just mix up in your paint, and it's going to ruin your paint. So if you do a stainless steel BB, you guarantee that it's stainless steel. All right. If you use a glass BB, you're good. Upside to a stainless steel BB is that it has a little more weight, so it has a little more power when it's shaking stuff through. Okay. Also, I just want to point out that this paint is dry. Okay. So that was the working time that you had with that paint. So, using a wet palette, here, this is what we'll do right now. We'll be using this desert yellow again. Just gonna put a drop of it there. We'll come back to that probably at the end of the show, and it'll be just like we left it. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to leave, I don't know, 40% of this ship, and I'm just going to work upwards. So I'm going to start to blend, okay? And the way I'm going to blend with an airbrush is I'm going to blend in, all right? Because I want to use the overspray of the airbrush in order to actually do the blending for me. So what I mean by that, okay? So if we're painting, right? Okay, if I want to blend into this orange puddle here, I'm going to start over here. Okay, and I'm just going to blend in, right? Get to where I can see, and then just kind of blend in, right? Okay, so we're going to do the same thing on all of these items. I'm assuming okay? We're talking about light here. I'm assuming that the light is coming directly from the front of the ship. The ship is flying into the sun, okay? So I'm gonna make all of these points that are up here, I'm gonna make all of those brighter, okay? And we're probably not gonna do a true non-metallic metal, but we're gonna be doing a nice, like, really bright golden fade onto all of this stuff. Okay, so working. Oh, it's almost as too dark. We almost need to darken up some of these areas of the paint, which is fine. We're still going to reinforce where we're at. I think that I did a little too strong of a Zenithal highlight for what I want to do here. So we're actually darkening up the areas that we've already painted. If you can kind of see that. So just okay, not a big deal at all. And you can see under here, right, we got some really dark areas. Okay, and don't overspray on the airbrush, right? Just go nice and slow. If you're pulling back more than halfway on the trigger, you're probably pulling back too far. So just kind of just give yourself a nice little area to work through. Give it a lot of air. You can see that I'm not even pulling back on the trigger now. I'm just giving it air. A good trick that people use sometimes is they sing the happy birthday song to themselves in their head. So they go happy birthday to you, and then happy birthday to you, and then happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, right? And they kind of give themselves like half air, half like just a little bit of air, or a lot of air, a little bit of paint. A lot of air, a little bit of paint. Okay? We've run out of paint in our airbrush here. So I'm going to go back to the charred brown because I want to darken up these areas. I'm actually going to kind of skip a step. And I'm just going to add a drop of black in here just to really make this brown dark. Happy mistakes, like you said. Yep. Definitely not. The thing about everything you should remember about painting is that it's all fixable. Okay? There's nothing that you can do while you're painting a model that can, well, I mean, there is, but realistically there's not, of things that you can do to actually hurt yourself or other people or cause like serious harm. Okay? So realize that. Don't get stressed out. Just kind of use it as a learning experience. Practice and keep working at it. Okay? So again, I put in the black. I put in just a drop of airbrush thinner. Mixed it up. I love this guy. Oh, thanks, man. Or do you love Epionic? Because he seems pretty cool too. We're gonna just take this little okay. Make sure that we're getting the color that we want, which is a nice dark brown. And so in this time, because we're working on our shadows, we're going to be working down here, we're working back here, and back here, right? Remember, don't worry about getting paint on the stuff that we've primed. We haven't painted that yet, so don't worry about it. Okay, so we're just going to paint flat back here. Okay, this nice and dark. Okay, get this nice and dark. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, and then use that overspray to fade in, right? And if you go out a little farther than you want, just keep working it. It'll get there. You might have to go back to paint, right? But that's okay. Painting is a relaxing thing, or it should be. Okay, so I'm just going over the back of these. Note that I'm not even spraying at the tail end of the ship. I'm just letting the overspray of the airbrush actually cover everything. Okay. For those of you that are painting via brush right now and you're painting regular metallics, you should just be working on those metallic colors just nice and smooth as you can. Just try and get a good clean coat. If you can't get a good coat on your first pass, don't put more on, okay? Don't just start lobbing more gold paint on there till it's like, oh, yep, it's covered. Put one smooth coat on, wait for it to dry, put another smooth coat on. That should be pretty easy with this specific ship, because it's so big. You have so much gold to actually paint that by the time you get back to the first one, you'll be able to go on with your second coat. Okay, just getting, this is a little airbrush pot. If you're airbrushing for the first time, you should be able, there should be some sort of like airbrush spray, something. I'll go find a link for it and we'll get it to you. We'll get it in the show notes there, and you'll be able to find it. And all it is it's just a little pot that you can spray your airbrush stuff into. Pretty easy. Makes it so that there's not as much overspray in areas, and you can actually like use your airbrush cleaner the way it was meant to be used. Alright, so now we have the opportunity to go to straight desert yellow. Remember, we painted a mix of the charred brown and the desert yellow, and that's kind of what this color is. So now we're just going to use straight desert yellow, and we're going to keep working our way up. I mean, you probably want the cracks darker than that finish coat. Oh, you are right, sir, and we're going to get there. We are going to get there. Just hold your horses. When you're airbrushing stuff, we can shade it later, or we can pin wash it. And so we're probably going to pin wash, because we want to keep our glorious coat. And so I'm just taking this. Okay. And then again, we're just working that overspray, right? We're not actually spraying on the ship itself. We're just working up. Using that overspray to our advantage. Note that I'm flipping the ship over, right? Because if I spray like this, I'm going to get more spray this way. So flip the ship over, use those angles to your advantage. Okay, I think I like this little bit darker right here, so I'm actually going to make our gold shine up here at this angle, right? Okay. We'll keep working the front of this. Okay, and it's not going to be, and again, for those of you at home that are keeping score, that really know, that super know what's going on with paint, right? This isn't a true non-metallic metal, right? This is just, we're just giving it a big effect, right? If we were doing true non-metallic metal, we'd get every single one of these panels, and it would take us a week and a half of every day coming out here and painting this, and you guys would be bored, right? So we're not going to do this. This is educational and learning. So we're just going to do the same thing here. We're just going to use the overspray to our advantage. Kind of get this. And then, just for kicks and giggles, we'll get the bottom of this. Maybe there's some light under here. No one cares about the light at the bottom of your ship. Have you ever picked up a ship and looked? Have you ever picked up a painted ship and been like, man, I'm gonna look at the bottom of this thing? No one ever looks at the bottom of a ship. So just realize that if you want to paint the bottom, good on you, but no one is going to care. It can be done after the base coats with washes. Yeah. What's up, Mad Mech? How you doing, man? You killing it? For those of you that seen the points changes, as I'm kind of working through this next bit, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to be doing the same steps that we've been doing before, right? We're slowly going to go, I still have some of this desert yellow in here, so I'm going to add some medium yellow. Then we're going to go to straight yellow. Then I'm going to mix it with white, and then we're just going to kind of fade all the way up, right? We're going to have a really cool effect. Since you should know the song and dance by now, I want everybody who's in chat that wants to participate, if you guys want to talk about what are your impressions of the points changes. I'm a first order player myself. I was happy to see Null get changed. I was a little surprised that Sloan didn't get any changes. I'm happy to see Bombers get changed. I thought the Whisper change was elegant. I really liked that. But what was your favorite and least favorite thing about the points changes today? I'm sure everybody's going to be talking about it for the next couple days, so you know, I'm first, so everybody else. And also note that I'm not a very I'm a reasonably okay player, right? Like, I did a couple things at the regionals a couple times, and like, but otherwise I'm just a dude when it comes to X-Wing playing. It's probably because I spend so much time painting. Robots though, 3 fit, but not titles, so it's so not sure it's really good. Expected them to do better. Sensor on ghosts and reduction on points. All right. Like the lettered rebel ships adjustments. Super reflexes. Yeah, super reflexes. Man, that thing got crushed, right? Do you think Supernatural Reflexes has any sort of place on a lower PS ship? I mean, not that we have very many lower PS ship Force users, but also, I don't have my headphones on, so I can't actually hear if anybody like subscribes. So those of you that are subscribing tonight, I appreciate you, and you are awesome. But I am not super looking at the screen, and yeah, sorry. All right, so added the yellow there. So I'm actually gonna I'm liking how this is looking, so I'm just going to add just a little bit of white. We're going to push on. TIE V1s. I didn't see what happened with the TIE V1. What happened with the TIE V1? Probably will have low PS Force users with the Galactic Republic. That makes sense. Sure. That Jedi Starfighter needs some low PS guys, and I bet that just random Jedi number 5 from the movie is probably going to be like a PS1 or PS2. Maybe it'll be like the Sheathapede and only have name pilots, who knows. But yeah, I can see them doing some future planning, right? Okay, so just to reinforce with you guys, once again, added some paint, added a little bit of airbrush thinner, made sure to spray away from my ship. To get the color that I wanted, I'm leaving the air on, and then I'm overspraying, right? So just kind of keep up, just kind of keep that in mind as you're working. And if you're watching the cast right now and not typing about the oh my god, the thing. You'll notice that I got in real close to the ship, and that's okay. Like, your airbrush is meant to get really close to to get really close to the ship. So if you want to get your spray down, lowered a little bit, and you want a nice thinner line, get a little bit closer. You might have to adjust your air pressure, but for the most part you should be fine. So if you get a bunch of spray as you're doing that, then you'll want to adjust your line. All right, we're rolling through this kind of gold look here. All right, so this is a mixture of that kind of yellow and the 50-50 mix in white, and now you're starting to see this nice little fade on there, right? Like that's starting to look like, okay, well that's kind of probably shiny. I don't know, we'll see. Once we add the white on there, it's really going to add a nice effect. But we need the brush for that. The generic Inquisitors, okay, are lower PS, right? Okay, got it. Yeah. And then generic Jedi Knights are PS3. Okay. Are there any less that can use? Oh, yeah. So we asked that. Ezra, yeah, Ezra's PS4, right? So Rebel's got a big boost, huh? That seems good. Okay, so what time is it? 7:56. We've been doing this about an hour. We'll take the short little break for a minute while we're in a little bit of transition. We're gonna put away the airbrush for a moment, and then bring out our brush. I'm gonna bring out my little for this guy. I'm gonna bring out the bigger brush. So definitely, if you're on YouTube and you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button, right? It's like right down the subscribe button should be like right there. I don't know. Like it's somewhere. Look, it's gonna be like subscribe, right? Hit that. That's important. That helps us out. That helps us get more viewers, stuff like that. If you like the video, hit the like button, right? That helps me out. That makes sure that Dion knows that I'm valuable to him and that he wants to make sure he keeps giving me airtime, right? If you're on Twitch, follow button should be like right there if you're on desktop. If not, then just tap the screen and then hit the big heart, right? Follow button. Maybe there's a button on Twitch. I don't know. Let's see. If you have a Twitch Prime, you should connect your Twitch account to your YouTube account, or you should connect your Twitch account to your Amazon account. You get a free subscription every month. Subscriptions are basically like free money. Basically, like it works like this. So Amazon, for you being a Prime member, gives you basically 12 free Twitch subscriptions per year that they spread out over the course of a month. Each tier 1 subscription is in theory $5, right? For all the streamers, Twitch takes a percentage of the regular tier 1 subs. Like if you went and actually like, yep, I'm going to pay the money, I'm going to hit the subscribe button. Twitch takes some of that money. The Twitch Prime one, they take just a little bigger of a cut from that, and then the streamers get all that. The upside of the Twitch Prime sub is that you get a free, like, it's free for everybody. Amazon is just paying the streamer. So if you don't use that, you should just use it because you're not losing anything. It's literally taking 2.5 minutes out of your day. You could have done all of your Twitch Prime things, like, in the time it took me to explain this to you. So, definitely do that. It's really helpful to the streamer. It keeps Dion, it keeps the lights on for Dion. It keeps me being able to do this kind of stuff for you guys. So, definitely do that. And if you do it on my show, then that means that you're telling Dion that you like me, right? So that's cool. I don't see a dime of this either way, right? This is all going back to the Gold Squadron podcast, which is all going back to make content for you, right? So this, I don't get like straight paid for this. I do this because I like doing this stuff for you guys. Okay. With that out of the way, we're going to go back to our wet palette. At this point, notice that this is still like crazy thin, right? It might even be thinner, just a little bit thinner than when we actually started tonight, when I poured it out. And that's because the water is moving through the layer of the parchment paper and is making the paint, keeping water in the paint. What's up, Mega Silver? What do we do? Currently my YV is an airbrush crash test dummy. I'll have to give it a bath soon. Do you prefer purple, power, or simple green? Whichever is cheaper. Both purple power and simple green work. They both work really well, actually. So if you can find a big thing of purple power at the... I have purple power right over there. And I think over here I have like 4 bottles of simple green. I use them interchangeably. I've had excellent luck with both. And if you're doing airbrush, like if you're just doing this as a crash test for your airbrush, both are going to work. Both are going to be great. Okay, airbrush paints go on really thin, so they're going to come off really quickly. So make sure you just grab a toothbrush. So if we wanted to scrub this one off, I would fill up a bucket with simple green or a container. I would stick this into the container. I would close it. I would leave it there just overnight. Right as you go to bed, just stick it in the container. Just leave it there overnight. The next time that you think about it, open it up. Take a toothbrush. Just kind of scrub, just scrub the heck out of it, right? Don't rinse it with water, okay? This is really important. Don't rinse it with water. By the simple green, as long as it's not connecting with water, that degreaser is going to continue to pull up all this paint, right? You're never gonna, with simple green, you're never gonna strip the base paint coat off of this ship, right? Or if you do, you've left it in there a very long time and you've scrubbed really hard. So just let it go. You're not going to hurt anything. So just scrub it off really good. If you got all the paint off that you want, take it over to the sink. Warm, soapy water. Just wash the ship off. Get all that excess piece of paint, all that excess paint off that you can get, and then let it dry, and then you're good to go to try painting it again. If you wind up saying, oh man, I washed this off and I still need to put it back, then put it back in the simple green, wait again, try it again. Sometimes it's a process. The longer that you leave the paint on a ship, the longer it's going to take for that degreaser to go in because that paint is slowly sealing itself. Oh, I'm actually painting the ship purple and green. Oh, that's funny. Refuse or resist is painting his ship purple and green. Oh, for those of you guys that haven't yet, if you're on Twitch, if you're on YouTube, you should definitely join our Discord. Okay? So scroll down. There's a Discord somewhere. If someone has the link to the Discord, just post it in the chat. It's super cool. We have a whole section on painting. So if you guys are like, man, I'm so happy with how my ship came out, you know, post some pictures. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about, you know, man, that's so awesome. You're super cool. Then we'll also talk about like, or we could talk about like, you know, it's good, but here's what you could do to get better. And this is all up to you, right? So post your stuff. Getting feedback from other artists and other people in the community is a really good way to improve your skills. So if you're not already in a place where you're getting feedback, our Discord is a really great place to do that. So definitely go ahead and try that. And post up some pictures. We'll talk about it. If you're super uncomfortable with that, send me a message on Discord with the picture. Send me a message on Facebook. I would be happy to give you some individual feedback if for whatever reason you're like, I'm not going to do that. Okay, so What I'm going to do now is I'm going to start to edge highlight, and I actually don't feel comfortable with this my huge brush. I'm just going to use my little brush. I'm going to edge highlight this the top of this here. So good metal always kind of gleams, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this white paint. Okay. Notice where I'm putting my brush, right? Oh, okay. See that? That's as far up on the brush as you want to go. If you go up into this little nose portion, you'll get paint in there, and then it'll slowly start to expand the glue here, and then your brush bristles will get loose. So if you are currently like dunking your paintbrush in there, stop it. Okay. So edge highlighting is pretty simple. What you want to do is you want to take your brush. Anytime you put paint on it, take your brush and kind of just pull and slide and turn. Like turn your brush while you're pulling. Okay. It gets some of the paint off of there, and it makes it a little easier to control. Edge highlighting is pretty simple. All you have to do is take the side of your brush, the edge of your brush, and just run it up the side of whatever edge you're working on. So get a little of that excess paint off, and then we'll just slowly go all the way up. If you look at an older, Discord is scrolling at the bottom. Yeah, I can actually post it in the chat here in just a minute. So you have to give me a... I'll take the copy that someone put on Twitch, which I appreciate. Thank you guys very much. And I'll slowly... I'll copy it, but all I'm doing right now is just kind of getting some white on those edges there. So... definitely takes a little bit of practice. Oh, that's Nightbot. Silly Nightbot. Anyone got the link handy? Alright, hold on. I'll find it. Discord. I've done this before. I'm good at the computers. This is all very, very incredible. Thanks. I'm a little behind and still in the airbrush. I'm getting some spots, some splatters. PSI, an issue, not thin enough paint. If you're getting splatter, there's a couple splatter here. We'll take a little break. Let me give me just a minute, and I will. Someone sent me a DM, which is telling me. Oh, hey. Someone said, hey, let me know when you're starting the paint cast. Okay, well, I'm starting. Okay, so let me... Uh-oh. This is... Discord. Oh, come on, Discord. Just want to find the link. A link. Yeah, so it could be air pressure, it could be too thin a paint, it could be a couple things. It depends on what kind of issues you're getting. Invite people. Send a server link. Invite. Copy this link, and right here, boom, there's a link, and there's a link to you. Boom, done. I should probably be logged in under Gold Squadron for my chat reading, but whatever. That's me on Twitch, if you want to find me. And hunt me down and stalk me while I watch other amazing artists do their thing. Okay, so, spray, spray, spray. Here's what we could get. Let me pick a really obtuse color. This is, oh, here we go. This is a dark, dark purple. Okay. So, if your pressure, so we'll put the appropriate amount of thinner in here. Mix it up. If your pressure is too high and you are too close, your paint will spider like that. Nope, OCX, well, OCX is in Orange County, Iowa, but it stands for Open Community X-Wing, so it could be anywhere, right? So if your PSI is too high and you're too close, you're just gonna get spidering like that. Okay? Okay. If you back up a little bit, right, you get a smoother coat. If you lower your PSI, or lower how far you pull back on your trigger, right, you get a smoother coat. So notice that if I still pull back really far on my trigger, I get spidering, even when I'm at the right PSI. If you keep moving your brush, if you pull your trigger back, if you just take some time to practice some trigger control, it'll really help you a bunch. Or the alternate is that your paint can be way too thin. Okay, I just put like 15 drops of airbrush thinner in there. So this paint is now like more, like way more airbrush thinner than it is paint. And what can happen when you're at that and you leave it on too long, you get paint that runs. Okay, so see how this is different? We're actually getting a good coat, but we actually have paint that spreads out and is getting pushed, right? So this is paint that is kind of like splaying immediately as it hits, and that's because of the air pressure. This is paint that's pooling that the air pressure is forcing out. Okay, so slight difference, but pretty important that you know the difference. So if you're immediately seeing splaying, that means that your air pressure is too high, or you're too close, or you're pulling back on the trigger too far. If you're seeing a good coat and then pooling and spraying, that means that you either have too thin of paint, or you're leaving your airbrush in the same spot for too long, right? So you notice that when I'm just like spraying like this, right, nothing's happening. We're all fine, right? We're getting a fine coat. Maybe it's a little wet, right? But it's deal withable. But if we leave it in one spot, all of a sudden, and I pull it back, like if I don't pull it back really hard, okay. But notice that when we put more paint to it, like right here, okay, we get kind of that effect. So you just kind of have to think about how all of that's working and then kind of figure out for yourself what your issue is. Tell me about brushes and brush care. Alright, while we're in a slight break, I'll talk to you about brushes and brush care. If, for whatever reason, you don't have airbrush cleaner, you can always use water. Right? Water works just as well as anything else. This is just a water bottle I have for this kind of stuff. I mean, I have airbrush cleaner, but I want to show you that water can work. I do strongly recommend you buy airbrush cleaner because it is designed to break down acrylic paint. And so it'll break down the acrylic paints inside your airbrush, which will be beneficial in your airbrush not clogging. But note that water works just as well. What airbrush would... Okay, so we got a whole bunch of questions in chat, which is great. I appreciate them. We will get them one at a time. We're going to talk about brush care really quick, and then we will talk... Actually, while we're on the subject, we'll talk about airbrush care, or airbrush, what airbrush would you recommend? I have used multiple airbrushes. If you are just getting started and you're just going to be painting X-Wing ships, right? If like, yep, all I'm going to be doing is just painting big old YV666s, then I would get, like, stick with, honestly, there's like 3 brands that you should kind of stick with until you know more about the landscape of airbrushes. If you're just going to just do like base coating and stuff with airbrushes, you're just like, yep, I just want to be able to prime stuff, right? It's too cold where I live. I just want to be able to prime stuff with my airbrush. Go buy the cheapest airbrush you can find. There's 3 things that you need on an airbrush, okay? You want something that's dual action. So a dual action brush means that you can control air pressure by pressing down. See? So I can give it 50%, I can give it 100%. The second action is being able to control paint flow, so being able to pull back, right? So those 2 things is what a dual action airbrush is. Single actions are like trigger airbrushes. They also have single actions that have this, that you just kind of pull back, right? And that gives, it always will give 100% air all the time. The second thing that you want in your airbrush is you want it to be gravity fed, okay? So that means that in this little cup, gravity is pulling this paint down and pulling it right here, and when we pull back on the trigger, air is then pulling it the rest of the way. There's also a siphon feed, which has a little paint pot underneath the airbrush, and what that does is it has a little tube that goes in here, and as air is being pulled, the air being pushed through the airbrush actually siphons. It pulls the paint and actually pushes it this way. The reason why a gravity feed airbrush is a little better is, 1, it's easier to clean, and 2, there's sometimes the opportunity that if you don't have a good enough pull, you can get little bubbles in the air and you can get inconsistent paint. But mostly it's because there are these jars that you actually have to fill with paint, and unless you spend a bunch of money on a ton of jars sitting around, you're gonna have to be consistently, like, we changed color like 5 times here. We would have to have opened this up, poured in more paint, mix it up. It's just a pain in the butt. So gravity feed, dual action. From that, if you're just buying one just to base coat or do really basic things, pick an airbrush. It doesn't matter. Pick the cheapest one, and it will get you started doing what you want to do. If you want to start doing detail work, if you want to start really like working on your painting via airbrush, I would recommend 3 different brands. Badger, which is an American company, they put on a lot of sales. You can usually find them pretty cheap. This is a Badger. It's the Sotar 2020. I love it. I use it all the time. There's the Iwata. Okay, Iwata has a Neo and an Eclipse, right? So the Neo is kind of like the basic entry level, and then the Eclipse is the like brother to like this one, okay, or the competitor to this one. It's amazing. It's a great airbrush. You'll be able to find that one at like Hobby Lobby. So if you have stuff about, or if there's stuff that's about it, then you should get that. If you have coupons or things like 50% off coupons, there's lots of stuff that happens there that you can buy one of those. Finally, Harder & Steinbeck. Harder & Steinbeck is a German company. They make phenomenal airbrushes. If you're like, man, I really want to just like blow $400 or $500 on an airbrush, buy Harder & Steinbeck. It's great. You're never going to have to buy another one as long as you take care of it. And so those are kind of the 3 that I would recommend for people just getting into it, depending on how much money they have. All right, now let's talk about brushes and brush care. Really quick, if you're using a brush for a long period of time, I recommend brush cleaner. You can find Gentastic's Drunken Brush Goop is, you can buy Masters Brush Cleaner is good. You can find that on Amazon. If you go here, let me just type this in really quick, creaturecaster.com, and you talk about this, creaturecaster.com. Okay. Inside CreatureCast, you'll be able to find this brush cleaner. I'm pretty sure that there's all sorts of stuff with companies merging. It's really easy. All you have to do is take this right here. Okay. Go into the brush cleaner. Go do. Okay. Get a nice little lather going. See that? That's good. It's exactly what you want to see. Okay. Wipe it off in the water. Take a little paper towel. Okay. This is important if you're going to use the paper towel. Okay. Pay attention to this. Take it. Turn and pull. Okay. Turn, pull. If you do it other ways, you're gonna mess up. You can mess up where the bristles are. So just turn and pull, and then you get a nice. It'll bring your brush back to a nice pointy tip, and it'll clean all the extra paint off. Do that with all your brushes after. Ideally, after you finish your painting session. If you do that with all the brushes that you use, your brushes are going to last you a really long time. I mean, a really long time. Like I said, this brush that is right here is over a year old, right? And when I say over a year old, I mean like I do like hours of painting a night. So just like last week I did like something like 28 hours of painting, right? So multiply that by the course of a year, and this brush has been through like a lot of stuff, and it's still working good, and that's because I take good care of my brushes. So take good care of your brushes, and you won't have to buy new ones. All right, hopefully that answered everybody's questions. Now we're gonna keep going. It is 8:22. I don't know, maybe we got like 40 minutes left, something like that. If you can't stay for the whole entire episode, that's totally okay. The VODs are going to be on Twitch for a while. The episodes are going to be on YouTube, so just go check those out. Pick up from where you left off. If you think, man, I need like to go back and see how he did X, or I know we talked about Y, you know, just know that these resources aren't going away. We're not going to just like we're not going to put them up behind a paywall, but if you want to support us, you can always go on to Patreon and utilize and kind of help fund us, right? At some point, Dion is gonna let me do like sub giveaways and stuff like that for these paint casts. But honestly, I mean, I care. I care about Gold Squadron doing well, because it helps me, but I would really much rather you guys learn to paint well, right? So feel free to continue to ask questions and do things. I'm just kind of edge highlighting. There's not a great edge here, so I'm kind of just there's not a great edge on the side of this YV. So I'm just gonna kind of freehand an edge in. I don't know. We're gonna, because I want a pretty thin line. And remember, as long as your paint's wet, you should be able just to like wipe it off if you make a mistake or there's an issue with something. Oprah Smash, that's a nice looking Star Trek ship. Yeah, it is, man. Wouldn't you love, like, if you saw this in Star Trek, wouldn't you be like, wouldn't you be like, man, I'm loving the Star Wars. I'm loving the Star Trek. You'd be like, man, if Captain Kirk was running around in a YV666, he would be crushing all faces, and he would be getting even more of Lieutenant Uhura. You know what I mean? Like, and don't give me that's not PG, because that was on in the 60s. Like, what if you made a mistake and it dried? Okay, well, there's a couple ways that you can go about fixing that. The first way is to go get the color you had before and just paint over it. That's by far the easiest method. So, and for us, we'll probably make a little blend here, and we'll fix these. We'll fix these mistakes. Otherwise, you can make your edge highlight a little bigger. But welcome in, Oprah Smash. I hope you're having a fantastic night. How's everything going with you? Because a guy who says that's a nice looking Star Trek ship, he just wants attention. He's just looking for love. And here at the Gold Squadron podcast, we got that for you. JLP, Bosk Power Team. Which airbrush brand, Tabletop Fanatic, which airbrush brand do you use? How much does it cost? I want a good value. Well, I just talked about this just a little earlier, but we can just chat about it again while I'm edge highlighting this stuff, or while I'm like pseudo edge highlighting this stuff. Sometimes with Star Wars ships, I become just like a little lazy because I don't get as much value out of being perfect. But I use a Badger. I use a Badger Sotar 2020. Badger is an American company. They just put on a sale where they sold any of their airbrushes for $69.99, right? Which is about as good of a value as you're going to get anywhere. It was pretty amazing. They do that about once a year, so if you're willing to wait a while, that's going to come around. So you should pick that up when that sale happens. There's also a the Iwatas. They sell at Hobby Lobby. If you go there and you have some sort of coupon, you can usually get a pretty good deal. You can pick up one for, I don't know, 70, 80 bucks, something like that. Right. I would suggest either the Neo or the Eclipse. If you are working on, if you're in Europe or you're working in Europe doing stuff like that, there's all sorts of other options. Harder and Steinbeck is really good in Europe. In the US, it's wicked expensive, but they make good airbrushes. Iwata also still makes good airbrushes in Europe. Harder to find a Badger in the UK. I'm actually feeling like maybe we don't edge highlight the whole thing. Maybe we just get these little sections. I'm kind of feeling like maybe I'll go back and we'll maybe brighten up this front cockpit and just get a nice blend in there. But I wanted to show you what edge highlighting kind of looked like. Oh. Amazon has some good value. It's Kardashian Freighter. Where do you buy your airbrushes from? What are some good online retailers? If you're in Europe, Element Games is really good. Elementgames.co.uk or something like that, or whatever thing. Just search for Element Games. They do a good job. In the US, there's Airbrush Supply. They do a good job. Amazon does a fine job. They're more than adequate for pretty much whatever you're probably looking for. Let's see. Grex does a good one. That's what I was thinking, but do they do the Badger sails? No, Badger specifically I know works, well, Badger you can buy direct, right? Which is where they sometimes do their sails, but Airbrush Supply usually does airbrush sails too. So it's just more of a matter of keeping an eye out for it. So right now I'm just putting straight white into the airbrush. I want to make sure that I'm getting. Okay, so you might be able to see how wet this is. I think I over thinned it. So the way that you deal with something that's been over thinned a little bit is just to be really, really gentle on the trigger. Okay, it's gonna come out of your airbrush just fine, but if it comes out of your airbrush and it hits anything for too long, it's gonna start to splatter. So just be really, really, really careful on that trigger. Doesn't need much. And this just comes, and this kind of like airbrush control and stuff just comes with time, just comes with practice. So, and that's the only way to get it. If you have really, really good finger dexterity, then you're going to get it probably sooner than somebody who doesn't. But knowing how much paint to put in, knowing what feels right, what feels wrong, how to get around those issues, that's just something that you're just going to need to just play around with. And so this is we're kind of in a weird spot right here because there's so much, because this white line was way too thick for me. So I think I want to blend this out. So I think I'm going to put a little bit of yellow here, and we're just going to kind of blend this back just a little bit. And then finally, I think I'm going to blend up this white just a bit. The gold is looking pretty good. I'm starting to get pretty happy with it. I want to fix this little issue on this portion right here really quick, and then we'll be moving. He mentioned, what PSI would you recommend generally? If you are doing detail work, I definitely recommend you being at somewhere in the 20 to 25 range. If you're doing more general, more base coating work, being at the 30 to 35 range is good, and then priming 35 to 40, something like that. Yeah, closer. Yep, Bullet's got it. As you're getting closer, lower your PSI and lower your trigger control, right? So if you have good trigger control, you don't necessarily have to lower your PSI, right? But if you're still working on your trigger control, then definitely lower your PSI so that you can so that you have a little bit better, so you avoid the risk of spidering, right? Which we talked about earlier. Okay, so the thing with these fades, right, is that you got to remember that if we have to go back and we have to rethink through a fade, then we actually have to go back through the entire process to that fade. So I'm just working backwards, really, just like super quick, in order to just add enough clarity to this fade that it's fixed. Oh, that was not the right brush to use. Okay. Okay. And then, so I was working at that desert yellow white, and now I'm working down to this brown. Right. And note what I'm doing right here. If you just like kind of tap, like white kind of dulls itself down pretty easily. And so if you just really lightly tap the tap your edge highlights, sometimes that'll dull it down enough that they won't look like weird, right? You know, don't paint them. Just kind of tap them down. You don't want to like kill all the fade that you just did, but instead of it being white, it will be just a very slightly brownish white. And it's just noticeable enough when you do it that it makes a difference. All right. How are we doing on chat? Cool, thanks. Okay, I hope I answered Tabletop Fanatic's question. We have a lot of people in chat. If you're not already following or then you should definitely hit that follow button up on the top right hand corner of Twitch there. Do the thing. And if you're not subscribed on the YouTubes, you should definitely just, you know, smash that smash that subscribe button. Hit that like button. Hit that like button. Smash that subscribe button. Getting if you personally know Dion, you should send him messages about how amazing this whole thing is and how much you're just enjoying it and that you love it so much. Just be like, no, yeah, Luke, we want Luke on all the time. You don't really have to do that. Don't actually do that. Okay, so now we're at this precarious spot, right? We have this really nice thing that we just painted up here. And we have this really nice thing that we painted up here and here, but we need to do all this work now. So how do we go about doing it? Well, there's a couple ways. One, we can go really tight. If you have really good airbrush skills, you can go in really tight right here and just clean this line. I'm almost positive that I can do this, but if you're new, this is not an option, okay? Don't just try and go airbrushing in here because you're going to get all sorts of overspray and then you're going to ruin this and then you're going to get mad and it's going to be a whole thing, right? So don't do that. The second thing we can do is we can take some painter's tape, which, I mean, I always have painter's tape lying around somewhere, right here. Take some painter's tape, okay? And we can tape over this. If I gave this a little more time to dry, it'd probably be pretty straightforward. I'd probably just go in here, just tape over the top of it, and then boom, go to town, do all your painting, and then slowly, carefully peel off your painter's tape. We're gonna be doing this later on, so don't feel like you're missing anything. We'll slowly peel off the painter's tape, and boom, you're good to go. If you wind up that you're like, man, I got a show to do. I can't be waiting around on this stuff to cure. We got work we gotta do. Then I recommend taking your base color. Okay, so this is just, so we're just gonna make this black, right? This is gonna be, I'm not sure exactly what we're gonna do with this yet, but we're gonna, for now, we're gonna make this kind of black like the Gold Squadron logo. And we're just gonna take our brush, okay? And I would recommend that if you're painting it, start base coating, right? If you're not, and you're in a time crunch, and you're gonna airbrush it, base coat to the point that your overspray is going to be concealed, right? So if we paint like this, right, this gives us a nice thin line where we can have overspray, but we're not going to accidentally paint over what we actually care about. Okay. So go here. Okay. Not to say you don't need any control with the airbrush, right? But look how much extra room you have now. That's a ton of extra room. Silly Putty and Poster Tack makes a good mask as well, especially for organic shapes and combo. Yeah, and if you have, and on top of what Bullet's saying, if you have the, if you really need to make sure that something is set correctly, this liquid mask is phenomenal. What this does, basically, what you do is you take some of this, okay, and you paint over it, right? We paint it right there, right? And then this creates a nice protective seal. Let's see if we can't make this dry really quick. So this makes a protective seal that then you can, let's get a little closer on camera. So that then when you paint over, I don't know if this is dry yet, but we'll give it a little bit of air. Basically, the mask then comes off. I don't think the liquid mask was even close to dry, so. But anyway, liquid mask does work, especially in like really odd shapes, so it allows you to kind of paint it on without any sort of issues. Has to be more than a day to do that though. Yep. So yeah, Bullets got it. It's kind of, if you're doing stuff in a hurry, like you kind of just gotta. This is a really good method. What I'm doing right now, and it's pretty much the only method that I can guarantee won't screw up what you're doing. Right? If you're good enough with your airbrush that you're confident that you can go in and get all of these spots without messing something up, then I don't know why you're listening to me. Okay, especially like right here. So notice how bright that is, right? If we come into the airbrush anywhere even close to that, if we get any specks of black on that, that's gonna really mess things up. So sometimes the airbrush just isn't the answer, and you just want to go back to your brush and just brush stuff in. Okay, and I want to get to the point where we finish base coating in the black, right? So we can kind of see how our gold transitions have come out, and I think we're going to be really happy with. I can see where it's going, and I'm really happy with the results so far. So. And obviously, for people who are Patreon subscribers and the like, people who kind of watch Gold Squadron podcasts, you guys will have the opportunity to win this ship in a future prize raffle of sorts. That's not my department. All I do is paint the ships. So What up? What is up, Anakin's twin? And it's just Luke tonight. We're repping Gold Squadron tonight, man. We got and then we talked about maybe doing this back portion here black. So I'm gonna this whole section, this might be a brush, right? That's really close to stuff. If for whatever reason you're just concerned about how something is gonna how you might actually hit something with your airbrush, just don't even risk it. Sometimes you risk it for the biscuit, other times play it safe. When you have the opportunity to play it safe and it's only going to take you an extra minute and a half or so, because I mean doing that was really fast. That was super fast. Right now I'm taking some black, Vallejo black, right? It's easy. And drop an airbrush thinner, drop a flow improver, we're going to start mixing some stuff up here, and then I'm just going to hit that area with the black. And remember, make sure you're getting the color that you want out of your airbrush before you go in. Note that I'm getting in a little closer, okay? Because I don't want to hit it. I'm just doing a really light coat all the way across. Okay, just see how little my finger is actually pulling on this trigger. It's just not pulling it very far. Okay, and I'm just getting closer, and I'm keeping my airbrush moving. Okay, that should be a really big thing for you guys to practice. It takes a lot of like thought, okay, to make sure you're keeping your airbrush moving. And what that's going to do is it's going to like stop the ability for stuff to pool. Okay. If you have something that's really close and you're really scared that you're going to accidentally hit it, take a piece of paper, take a card, take all that 1.0, all those 1.0 cards that you have just lying around, right? Okay. And I mean, if this was a hard card, it would work better, but it's not, so it's fine. And then just kind of just use that as a mask, right? We really don't want to mess that up, so we're just going to make a mask of it. Easy. Okay, see here? You can see that line where we had the brush and where we had the airbrush, that the colors aren't even yet. Well, that's because the airbrush is a lot thinner than a regular brush. Like, it provides much thinner coats. So what you have to do is you have to let it dry for a second, and then just give it another coat. And you'll be fine. Sometimes I get over anxious and I'm just like, I gotta spray something, right? Like, be careful when you do that, especially when you're trying to be careful. Like, I definitely should not have done that. but luckily it didn't bite me in the butt. So you can see I'm getting a little bit of spidering. It's just because I'm being impatient. I need to slow down, just kind of like take my finger off the paint here. Okay, and I've run out of paint in my airbrush, but look at the front of that ship now, man. Like, that is looking pretty snazzy. I like that gold quite a lot. And note that it's not that this is just the effective gold, right? It's not, we're not actually painting like gold. Like a twin laser turret card. Yeah, exactly, man. That's exactly what I mean. Something that just will never get use again. Marcel Manzano, I love you too, buddy. How are you? We're gonna be painting Skippy on this guy. Marcel, right here, man. Right here. Skippy's going right there. Alright, so if you're doing non-metallic metal, the last step in non-metallic metal is actually to get black right in this area. I was waiting until we got to our black phase to kind of do this. The black phase. It sounds like I'm like so emo, right? Okay, all I'm doing is in the darkest areas, I'm just adding just enough black, just to, not to make it like black, but just to darken up that charred brown enough that we have this like black effect. Right, you can do this first. I was just saving time, just doing all my airbrushing of black at once. Okay, so right now you can see that when I'm pulling back on the trigger, I have to pull back farther and farther. So what that's telling me is that my tip is a little bit dry. So just take a brush, paint will dry on the tip of your airbrush. You'll just want to get a brush and just kind of clean that off. Easy peasy. Then I'm gonna do the same thing here. We're just gonna spray this. This is just gonna get sprayed in black. Right? There's less stuff for us to ruin right here, so you can go a little bit faster. And yes, we're doing a lot of spraying, and I should probably be wearing my mask, but I'm not right now, so shh. Darth Revan 1999, what's up? What's up? Got some gunboats in there. Got some beer cans. Oh yeah, it's a nice good night. Okay. Alright, so last stage here. I'm going to be putting the black in down here. And it doesn't mean this is the last time that we'll use this color, right? I might decide that, oh man, I missed a spot that should have been black, right? So like that should probably be black. Honestly, this might, maybe we'll make this silver. That might be a good breakup of the of what everything looks like. And so now, look at that. That's starting to look okay. We've only just base coated the black, so obviously the black looks really flat and boring, right? But man, this gold is looking good. I think we're in the process of coming out with a really nice ship here. And with that, it's 8:54. We have about 6 minutes that we can kind of do question answer, wrap up. All you guys can go on to my Instagram. Let me find it for you, and give me a like and a follow if you want to follow me more. If you want to follow what I'm doing when I'm not on the paint cast. Definitely maybe paint what diagonal line silver? Oh, on the nose? Right here? Yeah, I was thinking for sure this one. This one we might be able, yeah, ooh, with this right here. That would be hot. Yeah. We'll put that on the list for next time. So if you haven't followed me on Instagram, if you like my work and you want to see what else I'm working on, what else I'm doing, have another way to contact me if you're interested in, if you have questions, feedback for me for the paint cast, right? That's something that I'm really interested in, because tonight was our first night. If I'm going too fast, if I'm going too slow, anything that's going on, I want you guys to feel like you can come talk to me, because this is not a set in stone show. I'm here to help you guys get better and for all of us to paint cool stuff. So if so consider me available if you need more information. And man, there's like 50 people in here. That's crazy. Can't wait to see what the Q&A. Yeah, that's coming up on Wednesday, buddy. Wednesday. Well, I mean, probably. We also still have other things to work on, but yeah, Wednesday I might get around to at least starting that. Makes a nice contrast spot. So, yeah. So anyway, guys, that's probably gonna wrap it up for us. I do encourage you. Well, again, make sure to join the Discord. Post your work, right? If you're doing work tonight on the YV, post that work, right? Work in progresses are fine. No one expects you to be perfect. No one expects me to be perfect. You know, there's always going to be issues with things, but feedback is the only way that we grow. So, hope you guys learned something tonight. Hope you guys are having a great time. How about the engine part? Yep. So the engine part right here, we're going to get to. It'll probably be at the end. I think that's going to be gold. I think here we're going to be doing, sorry, this is going to be like a blue engine. Probably, because Gold Squadron kind of has that blue kind of tonish look going to it. These are going to be silver, right? Gray, silver, 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 right? And then maybe silver down here. So we're going to have kind of a nice contrast. And then we'll do Skippy. Uh-oh. We got some of that, mask. Put mask down there. So I'll have to go back in on the black and kind of go back over it. But see how it kind of came off? That's because the paint's not set yet. So we'll paint over that. No big deal. It's the bottom of the ship. It's easy. So we'll do silver here. Kind of keeping this Gold Squadron themed colors. We'll get the Skippy logo. We'll print that out and do a little bit of stenciling right there. Kind of make it like Force Ghost blue. And that'll tie in good with the engines. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this. So, yeah, it's no big deal. So for all you don't have anything yet, if I want to paint my ship, should I start with an airbrush or paintbrush? Paintbrush, Steven. At the end of the day, the airbrush is a tool that can do some things better than a paintbrush and can do some things much, much, much worse, like detail work. So if you're going to start painting, always start with a paintbrush. It's cheaper, it's better, it's easier, keep it. So it's ruined, I'll take it off your hands, right? Alright guys, well, I'm going to get out of here. If you guys have any more questions for me, hit me up on the socials, and yeah, I'll talk to you later. Have a good night. Gold Squadron